time is here. Shane and I'll be loud and clear. Pacific vibes, we bring the heat. AI agents can't be beat. AI agents out, let's go. News and guests, the big show. Solving problems, we do it live. Stay informed, it's a vibe. Building agents that work for you. Making moves, we see it through. Every week, a brand new show. Tag along and watch your knowledge grow. AI agents out, let's go. News and guests, the big show. Answering questions, we arrive. Every Monday, come alive. We want reviews, but only if it's a 5. We share the drama, we got the drive. Stay in the loop, it's the place to be. Shane and I'll be setting you free. Agents out, we're here to stay. Tune in Mondays, make your day. From the news to the problem solved. AI world, get involved.
Every week in AI, something insane happens.
And there's so much drama. Every Monday, we break it down live.
We do the news, we bring on guests, building in the space.
And we go deep into the stuff that actually matters.
Agents Hour, every Monday, noon Pacific.
Follow. Don't miss it. Peace.
This is Agents Hour with Shane Thomas and Abi Iyer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Agents Hour. We're here. It's Monday. It's noon Pacific time, or approximately that. We're always a couple minutes late, but we're here. How's it going, dude?
It's going good, dude. What's up, everyone?
And I'm here. That's Abi if you're listening and not watching. So I'm here with Abi. We're two of the co-founders of Mastra. We do this every week. We talk about the news. We got a guest today. I'm excited. We're bringing on Michael Grinich from WorkOS. He's the founder of WorkOS. We're going to be talking about probably his TSAI comp talk, TSAI demo day talk. Probably talking about some of the cool stuff they're doing over at WorkOS with agents. And yeah, I'm excited for that. You were on kind of a podcast thing that they did at a conference, right?
Yeah, I was talking to Michael about probably a lot of the stuff that he's going to cover here, which is like the economy of agents and stuff at HumanX. So peep that video. Super excited for today's show. So much news, great guest. We have a fun thing planned at the end of the show too,
which we used to do a lot of, and we just haven't had as much time lately.
We're just not as fun anymore, I guess.
Yeah, too serious. Sebastian says, "Hey, it's Gents Hour." Indeed, it is. Thanks for tuning in, Sebastian. And the news, as always, there's a lot of drama. We're going to get into that pretty much right away. But before we do, last week we had what we call Founders Week. So we're all in SF. You probably saw it if you watched the show last week. I'm back home. Abi, you're not in SF anymore. Where are you at?
I'm in New York City right now. I'm here to test a theory if everyone here is 3 to 6 months behind, just like Elad Gil says.
Indeed. That was, I guess you'll find out. You have to report back.
Yeah.
Us in the Midwest, we're a year behind, I've been told. That's why I have to spend some of my time in SF, I guess. Otherwise, I'd be way too far behind.
I'm going to a founders meetup with some previous YC founders. So like literally just doing reconnaissance and bringing all the information back home.
Yeah, I imagine, I get where that post is coming from. For those that missed it, I think we'll cover it in the news, but basically saying that New York's behind San Francisco and everywhere else in the US is a year behind when it comes to AI. I do think that resonates though with larger organizations. They are tend to be a bit behind, just from some of the conversations I've had with some folks. I remember I was talking to one person. They were just saying, we're just trying to figure out how to get ChatGPT to our employees. That was their struggle, and so they're a little bit behind.
How 2024 of them?
Yeah. Last week we had some really good meetups. We had some good dinners. Anything you want to talk about from that? You gave a couple presentations.
Yeah. Shout out to Camp AI. It's hosted by Auth0. Probably one of the best events we went to last week. I was on a panel with Paul from BrowserBase, the homie, but some other like industry professionals. We had Bovin from Drata. We had Rob from Fireworks, and I learned a lot on that panel. I don't know. You were there in the audience. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought, Rob had some really good, like lengthier monologues that were like very engaging and very
Yeah.
thought provoking. I thought, Paul's just, Paul's going for maximum tweetability, and anytime
Yes.
he's on a panel, and he delivered. Like, it was fun. It's always fun to see Paul up there. Yeah, it was a good panel.
Dude, this
Ooh,
dude's chair, like I was trying to give my own freaking monologue, and this dude was sitting in a chair, and the chair broke, and like it caused this big commotion.
it was so loud.
Stole my thunder, dude.
Yeah, I mean it was hard to follow up because I felt really bad for the guy, but no one knew what happened. And
Yeah.
so people were like laughing, but his chair just broke. It wasn't anything that he did.
He wasn't even a big dude.
No, it was
He's
just
just a
like
guy.
average sized dude. Chair just broke. Yeah, so that delayed I guess hurt some of your mojo as you were giving that kind of monologue there, but
Yeah.
you pulled it out. It was fine.
You know the best thing about that meetup though was that there wasn't pizza.
It
That
was
probably
good
the best
food.
part. Good
It
food.
was, dude, that was probably one of the best produced meetups. And there's been others, right? Like MCP
Yeah.
night was, well produced. There are some, but a lot of times meetups, which are fine, is just, a small little stage and pizza, and that's okay. But this one was well put together.
Yeah. Really good like production quality. They had a camera or photographer everywhere.
Yeah, we're
so-
gonna get some pictures.
Yeah.
I don't think I haven't seen them yet, but we'll show them on the show next week if we can get them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I suppose it's about that time.
Oh, wait, one more thing. Sorry to
Alright.
interrupt, but as founders, we went to have an experience after Camp AI. So if you're in SF or you know about this place, we went to this place called the Tonga Room, and we had the time of our lives there. It was great. So highly recommend.
If you're into tiki bars, which I am,
Yeah.
I'm a big tiki bar fan. So it was a great time.
Go to
We
the
gotta-
Tonga Room.
Yeah, Google it.
Google it for sure.
It's so cool. They got a pool, or they got a water feature in the bar. I don't know, it's cool.
And it rains in there.
And of course, they play all the rain songs. It's raining in Africa, The rain comes down. All right. With that, let's do the thing. Let's get into
do
the
it.
news. And this is a little preview of what we're going to be showing here today or covering in the news. There's a lot. I thought we'd start with something a little more, I thought was kind of funny. Today, we're excited to launch AI coverage, insurance for when your AI messes up. This is from Nico Lacqua. I don't know how to pronounce that, but Nico says, insurance was built for risks that have existed for decades. AI is creating a new category very quickly. And then to follow that up, announced Use Corgi, which is the company, I believe, right?
Corgi
Announce
Insurance, yeah.
160 million Series B at a 1.3 billion valuation led by TCV. What do you think about this?
It's wild. Super wild. I mean, their A was big as well. I think to do insurance, you will need to raise quite a bit of money. But their play is super cool. Like it's like the Rippling play, it's the Mercury play. You get all the companies, in early because we all have to have insurance, right? Like it's just part of the thing. But they've capitalized on it very well. They have a really interesting strategy too because they run a 24/7 cafe in San Francisco called the Corgi Cafe, which is a perfect inbound for any startup to come. You can like have coffee, smoothies, whatever. And if you're a YC company, you get 20% off. So that's also quite a bit of an incentive.
That's their YC perk. 20
That's
come
the
get
YC perk. Yeah.
come get 20% off at the cafe. I do think that this idea of should you get insurance for if your agent messes up and should you be insured, that's a really interesting idea.
Yeah.
And it, you know, if your agent drops your database, which we've seen, like should the company have insurance for that? Should the, you know, the individual have insurance? Like doctors have to have their own insurance. Do software engineers need their own agent insurance in case their agent messes up on their behalf? And how do you underwrite that?
Yeah. True.
Like, how do you know what that's going to cost? And there's not a lot of, I mean, I'm sure they have mathematical models, but I don't know. Very interesting. I think it's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, most people who do SOC 2, you have to get cybersecurity insurance. Then, like, now your agent is one of your actors that can go bad. So you have to then insure that as well. So it's super interesting.
So this is from Jared Sumner of Bun. Says RoboBun is the top contributor to Bun for months now. Even if we only merge a fraction of the PRs, it's worth it. We didn't have to write the code ourselves or debug it ourselves. As long as the tests are good, the tests fail on main, and the fix is correct. I disagree with this. In some ways, I agree with the principle that it's nice to have automatic PRs that get opened. I think the challenge that we're running into, at least internally, and I think a lot of teams are running into, is all the PR noise. If you're only merging a fraction of the PRs, well, now there's the overhead in you evaluating those PRs. And that becomes the new bottleneck. And so this is where I disagree with it a little bit. I think ideally you would only get the PRs that are going to be a high probability of being merged. And that should be the goal. So I think it's like a step in a good direction. And I think we used to joke, like, lend us your tokens, like, but then if you have too much of that, there's too many PRs and you have the burden of now reviewing and making sure it works.
Yeah, it's such a throughput problem too. But also, who's paying for these tokens, right? If you're not merging anything, you're just kind of wasting money. But then again, Anthropic is probably footing the bill.
And then Tariq says, Jared tried rewriting Bun and Rust, and it passes 99.8% of the existing test suites. We're not being ambitious enough. So is Bun getting rewritten in Rust?
There was a counter tweet to this from the people at UV saying, I tried rewriting UV in Rust. Oh, wait, it's already written in Rust. So I guess I didn't need to be that ambitious. Shots fired from OpenAI.
Anthropic and SpaceX. So Claude announced, we've agreed to a partnership with SpaceX that will substantially increase our compute capacity. This, along with other recent compute deals, means that we've been able to increase our usage limits for Claude Code and the Claude API.
Dude, the Games of Thrones be gaming, dude. They be gaming right now.
I mean, I did not have on my bingo card an Elon Dario alliance, but if you're going to compete against, that makes sense. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Well, Claude has SpaceX now and Google Compute, right? So they're collecting this like Pokemon.
Yeah, and that was, Claude will never admit this. Anthropic will never admit this. But this had to be the reasons why people thought that 4.6 was nerfed, right?
Yeah.
It had to be. And now they're doubling, usage limits. So whether it's because they lowered the thinking in Claude Code and that magically, made even other harnesses not all of a sudden not smarter, which makes no sense. But either way, they were heavily compute constrained. It was clear. It seems to have maybe fixed it. And so maybe things will be continue to get even better for Claude and Anthropic.
They were so defensive, right, about all these limits. And then the minute they get the deal, they double the limits. So, I guess they were throttling us all along.
Yeah. We talked about this a little bit in the past, but today, OpenAI announced, and this tweet goes, today we're launching the OpenAI deployment company to help businesses build and deploy AI. It's majority owned and controlled by OpenAI. It brings together 19 leading investment firms, consultancies, and system integrators to help organizations deploy frontier AI to production for business impact. So before we've talked about OpenAI doing FDEs in the FDE model. Now they're going in even harder and saying like, we're a services business, basically. We're just going to help
Yeah.
you businesses build AI, and they're partnering up. And this was from last week, and we might have mentioned it briefly on the show. I don't remember, but Anthropic was planning to announce a $1.5 billion joint venture with multiple firms to sell AI tools. But essentially, this post says Anthropic, Blackstone, Hellman and Friedman, and Goldman Sachs announced the formation of a new AI services company. The organization will work with mid-sized companies across sectors to bring Claude into their most important operations. Applied AI engineers from Anthropic will work alongside the firm's engineering team to identify where Claude can have the most impact, build custom solutions, and support customers over the long term. They're playing it. They're going for everything. They want the
Going for
software. They want
everything.
the services. They want everything.
The real loser in all of this is the dudes at Accenture that are working on their like 400-page slide deck right now, and then they see the news, they're like, "Oh shit, we're screwed."
Yeah, now we're competing against, and of course they're partnering with all these, folks first, but you got to imagine they're just, their goal is to do what any FDE model would have them do: go in and expand the TAM. It's
Yep.
expand them, go in, land, and expand. Anthropic ships, they announced, new for financial services, ready to run Claude agent templates for building pitches, conducting valuation reviews, closing the books at month end, and more. Install them as plugins in Cowork and Claude Code, or use our cookbooks to run them in production as managed agents. Coming after financial services, just like they came after design with Figma and all the other types of tools.
I'm curious if this is actually good or not. Maybe if you're a small company with no discipline in this, then it's really good. But if you work at like Ernst and Young, like, is this something that you would actually use, or maybe you'll try to use to not hire as many accountants or whatever?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like Claude's and Anthropic's, like, their value prop is they can do like 80% of it, right? It probably doesn't do everything that, a lot of the other software can do if you're a power user. But if it does it and it's easy for anyone to use, it can really disrupt the market, right? They only need to grab a fraction of the total market here, and it's a huge
Yeah.
win for them. And of course, it's, the goal is they're gonna, if it takes off, they'll make it better, right? So I
Yep.
do imagine it probably doesn't do everything, but again, if people are using it, they can invest more into it, and I bet they can make it a lot better over time. I've just noticed that with Claude, like they'll ship things before. I think they ship things faster than, and not saying it's a lower quality, but maybe less feature rich than a
Yeah.
lot of other companies would probably ship something. But the nice thing is they're going and they're just capturing the market. They're like they're the first ones there, right? Or they have such a distribution engine, they can, if you do have startups in the space, which you always do, they can kind of just like take on those startups really easily because they're less feature rich version. People will just adopt because it's easy.
True. But financial services or finance in general is a privacy concern. So if they're, we'll see how safe it is.
We will see. So Claude also announced the Claude platform on AWS is now generally available. AWS customers get the full set of Claude API features with AWS authentication, billing, and commitment retirement.
Game of Thrones, baby.
Another one from Claude. This one I think is worth us talking about a bit. Live from Code with Claude, we're launching Dreaming in Claude Managed Agents as a research preview. Outcomes, multi-agent orchestration, and webhooks are now in public beta. But this concept of dreaming is really interesting, and it's something that I think a lot of people have talked about. Did you look into how they're doing it or anything around it?
Yeah, it's kind of like, for us, we were calling this like offline memory, right? When we were first talking about this last year. So it's very similar to that. And then, our take on this will be a little bit different. I think OpenClaw has this as well. So
Yeah. And it's
pretty
not
cool.
it's not that much different than at the core to what observational memory is, right? For those that don't know, Master has observational memory. There's an observer agent that sits outside your main agent thread, your main messages, makes observations about that, rewrites context. There's a reflector agent that when it gets too long, it'll watch that and it'll kind of make reflections, reorganize thoughts, very much similar to what this dreaming agent probably does. I think the next step is really like can you do something off the main thread and then learn and create new skills from that, right? So it's not having to just remember things, it can actually learn things.
Yeah, the way it works is like there's a background process that is operating on your session, and it's going to organize it, clean up stuff that's irrelevant. It's very observational memory like. And at the end of that process, they'll have not a compacted thing, it'll be like reorganized. And then I guess the way they pitch it is like REM sleep for your agent.
Yeah. I think, and there's a post here from Carlos. I'll keep bugging you about harness news. Are you also thinking about dreaming?
Yes. That's it. That's the answer. Yes.
The answer is yes. Soon. Stay tuned. All right. Terminal Bench 2.1. So excited to release Terminal Bench 2.1. Coding agents are among the most economically consequential deployments of LLMs to date. As agents improve, benchmark reliability matters more. We audited TurboBench 2.0 and found and corrected issues in 28 of 89 tasks, 30% of the benchmark. But the rankings survived. Absolute scores moved up to 12 percentage points. All right. That's cool. So
That's dope.
I think, we need more benchmarks. Terminal Bench is a pretty rigorous one. I know there have been talks of like people gaming it, but I do think it's important for us to keep improving those kind of benchmarks. Internal agent platforms. So here's a post from Michael. This is Michael Grinich from WorkOS. For the past several months, our engineering team has been building a new agentic coding system designed around a simple idea, the self-driving code base. These aren't just agents to write code on demand. They detect triggers, spin up secure sandboxes, gather dynamic context, open PRs, verify their work, unblock the next task, and learn from every failure. So he says, Ramp built Inspect, Stripe built Minions, Spotify built Honk. We call ours Horizon.
This is becoming quite a bit of a trend now. I think every week we have startups that have good engineering talent. I think that's a prerequisite here, trying to automate their workflows. I'm excited to talk more about this with Michael.
Indeed. I think that'll be a good conversation. But on top of that, Shopify, Toby Lutke from Shopify said they released River. They talked about River's agent system or River agent system. Simon Willison says Shopify's River agent system lives in Slack and can only be used in public so that other employees can learn from what you do with it. Reminds me of how Midjourney's Discord-only launch helped people figure out the weird and complex craft of image prompting by watching each other. I think this is actually really cool.
Really good.
So you can read the whole post from Toby here, but what it comes down to is River is an AI agent that lives in our company Slack. You talk to River the same way you talk to a teammate by mentioning in the Slack channel. It can read code, run tests, write code, open pull requests, query the data warehouse, look at production traces, and a lot more. So we have some things like this, right? Well, we have a big belief at Mostra that your agent should live where your team works. And for us, that's Slack. For other people, it's Microsoft Teams or wherever. But your agent should live where where your attention is. And it should feel like you're just interacting with another teammate. So we have, a number of agents that do different tasks. We have an agent called Vic who does a lot of the processing of this podcast. We need to make Vic even better, but Jan gets some help from Vic. We have an agent called Master Doctor, which debugs any production failures and really helps us with that. And we're investing heavily in really improving this inside our own code base. And with that, we have a guest.
Yay.
Let's bring Michael on.
Like, share, and subscribe.
And follow us on X.
And tell your friends.
And their friends.
I mean, we're not begging.
Well, maybe a little bit.
Subscribe to Agents Hour every Monday, noon Pacific.
All right, and joining us now, we have Michael Grinich, founder of WorkOS. Michael, welcome to Agents Hour.
What's going on? Good to see you, Shane. Hey, Avi.
Hey, what's up, dude?
So first
Busy
of all,
week. It's good. Good
Yeah.
to see you.
yeah, it's been a good week so far. Avi, you're saying it's been one of the best Mondays you've had in a long time, so that's good. You're in New York though, maybe that's
Yeah.
part of it. I don't know.
It's probably a reason why, but yeah.
But Michael, for those that don't know, if they haven't been paying attention, tell us a little bit about WorkOS and tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Well, WorkOS is mostly a podcast and newsletter sponsorship system where we take our investment dollars, and you've probably seen us having sponsored videos on stuff from like Theo or Lenny's newsletter, or Acquired podcast. We have a lot of this stuff so people see it. But what we do is we help developers essentially take their product and grow faster. We help them add enterprise features, things like authentication for enterprise customers, user management, permissions, roles, encryption, logging. Essentially all the stuff if you're a SaaS builder and you want to add to your app to go get bigger customers. We build all of that as a software platform. So it's kind of like Stripe for enterprise features, is what we say. And we do it for a bunch of developers getting started, new companies that are getting founded and starting to grow and grow faster. And then also for OpenAI and Anthropic and Cursor and a bunch of other of the fast growing AI companies. So we're infrastructure that's underneath all of those businesses.
Awesome. And
We use it.
Yeah,
so.
I was going to say if you
Yeah.
really want to see it, just go to Master.ai, create an account on the platform, and you'll be using WorkOS. So there you go. So a few things I did want to talk to you about because I've been following you on X as everyone else probably should, and I see you. Maybe I'll just share it. You
Uh-oh.
announced. Yeah.
Like what post is it?
Yeah,
Shoot
I
from
mean,
the-
It's the
this
guy
is-
jumping off the roof,
no, I keep it pretty easy here. Let's see, where is it? There it is. So this was from today, on May 19th. AI native company gets thrown around a lot. On May 19th, we're showing what it actually means inside WorkOS. Agent shipping PRs, secure sandboxes, Slack orchestration, GTM intelligence, MCP, and other tools in production. Can you tell us about this event?
Yeah, totally. So a few months ago, I think like earlier this year, maybe January, February, I started this new team within the company called the Applied AI team. And the idea was to go into a bunch of different areas where we weren't yet seeing the accelerated impact of AI and figure out why. Like, what can we build? What can we automate? How can we help people do their jobs better? How can we accelerate? Because we were already seeing it in software engineering, as we all have been, for the last year or two. But in these other areas, we hadn't seen it as much. And we were just kind of curious, like, what was up? And so we took some of our most AI-pilled engineers on the team, took a few of them, and started embedding them in these functions. And we've built a bunch of different stuff in this. And so this event that we're hosting at our office next week is really a showcase of this. Different team members that have built and led these different areas. One area is our internal coding system. We have this autonomous agent harness that we call Horizon. And what Horizon does is it's kind of similar to what Ramp has built with Ramp Inspect or Stripe Minions. It's a sandbox. It also has connectivity to internal services via MCP, so it can get a lot of context in. Everything from our a project management solution like Linear to GitHub to Salesforce, actually, even like other types of data, Datadog, stuff like that. And it allows developers to kick off like autonomously in the background tasks that otherwise they would have to, create a branch, try to think about what to build, open it in Cursor, start writing code. Instead, you can actually kick this off from many different places. From Slack, you can kick it off from a Linear ticket. Because of all this context, this coding agent, this harness, it actually is really specific to our form of development and execution tied into all of our systems. And so we had already seen the acceleration with, like Cursor background agents, or we use Devin, we use other things internally, but we decided to build our own to take it just a step further. So that's one of the things that we're going to show off that our team's pretty excited about. And that post that we launched, we released last week, has some details on it, or in Horizon. But we've also actually been building some on the go-to-market side, which I think is probably the more novel and discussed areas.
Yeah, I have some questions on that, but before I do, one quick question on Devin versus your internal thing, because we use Devin. You know, Devin's really good at a lot of things. We like Devin, but I'm curious, where were the gains? Because I'm assuming because of it's your style, it's your context, you feel like there was gains for you to build it yourself. Can you talk a little bit about what you saw there? I think there's probably other folks.
Good question.
I think folks are weighing these options. We know a lot of teams that are trying to build their own internal coding agents, and so I think it's on the top of a lot of people's mind.
I think like one thing at a high level is we're just obsessed with creating like the best possible outcome for our team and the company here. And so simply using an off-the-shelf solution just doesn't give us the level of control or fidelity to explore that. With our own system with Horizon, you know, we're trying different harness designs. We're trying even different harness structures. You know, we have versions that use you know, Claude under the hood. We have versions that have used open code where people are experimenting with Pi. We have some people on our team that are running their own OpenClaw instances to try to debug stuff and see how that works. We've actually separated also in terms of our internal systems, the sandboxing environment to go run these services and do the actual kind of harness execution from the context layer. So you have a separate Horizon MCP server that's really an amalgamation of all of the different internal services we have. And you can just take that and add it to Codex or add it to Claude or whatever you want. You know, you can add it to Linear and just chat with it through that system. And so I don't think it's necessarily something like we love Devin. I think what they've been building is really incredible. And we'll even use Devin for like doing data analysis, you know, things like that. It's outside of the software engineering lifecycle. But it just became so clear to me that there was this enormous shift happening in how we write code and how we build systems. And so we didn't want to wait for there to be a convergence and stabilization in commercial services before we could start experiencing what the frontier of this is from our own products. So it's really not like you know, A versus B. It's like A and B together. And we also use cursor background agents. We use Codex. I mean, we're using like our Claude build's crazy. You know, we're using everything across the board. Oh shoot! Did I just lose you? Sorry. Hold on. My headphones died.
Yes, we have this from Carlos. Yeah, so I guess we can go into the GTM side. I think Shane's like muted.
Okay, maybe it's Shane.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was
sorry,
no,
I
it was
had
me.
headphones.
Yep, that was on me.
Okay, you guys can hear me though.
I can. You know, you think
Okay, great.
I've done this 100 times by now. I would know to click the unmute button, but
I just don't trust Bluetooth anymore. I feel like my faith has been lost in.
yeah. So let's go back to that because I know we got a little. Now that you took the Bluetooth out, there's a little echo, but well, you know, Jan will clean that up
see
for
if I can
us.
get it
If you're watching this live, you get the live. You get the live thing.
How's that?
Perfect.
Better? Okay, we're
Yes.
back at it. Great.
All right. After my mistake, we're back. So Carlos does say, yeah, I love the AI GTM side. Can you go more into that, specifically with your strategy on podcasts and influencers?
Yeah, so our strategy really is not spray and pray. It's not actually a super wide aperture of where we spend time and money. You know, there's I would say there's some amount of a long tail of very niche developer newsletters that we like to go, you know, sponsor, like Pointer and TLDR and you know, these. I mean, you call them niche, but they actually have tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of subscribers. What we instead have tried to do is find people that I think would represent our brand well, that we can learn a lot from and go do a deeper partnership with. Like as an example, we have sponsored the Acquired podcast, you know, which has like over 1 million listeners. I think it's the #1 podcast, certainly #1 business podcast that's out there. And not only do we sponsor that, but we also do, you know, events with them. Like we did an event about a month ago where Ben and David, the hosts of Acquired, interviewed Boris Cherny, who's the creator of Claude Code from Anthropic. And we produced that. We hosted it with about 75 founders or so in San Francisco. It was like a special event we put together. And so I would say like we like to be pretty focused in that. You know, we've done stuff with Gergely from the Pragmatic Engineer. He has a pretty amazing, you know, audience. And we like to go kind of like deep on those types of relationships and partnerships with folks. versus just kind of a broad set. We're not just like looking at like who has a Twitter account, let's go give them money and sponsor it. We really try to find people that can also give us product feedback. Theo is someone that I've known for a while that we sponsored for a bit. And in addition to us being a sponsor of Theo's channel, he actually gives us a bunch of great product feedback. Like we power the auth inside of T3 Chat. So it's a very kind of symbiotic relationship. I think it's maybe the thing that can only exist in the kind of tech Silicon Valley inside baseball world.
Does the process for doing the GTM motions change now that you have Horizon? Or is like, how's onboarding those people into this system? Like, how does that go?
So our whole company is pretty AI pilled. We actually this week we're doing our first all company Claude Day. And we're just kind of naming it Claude Day. People are using a lot of different services, but it's kind of a one-day internal hackathon for people to build anything and everything. We have non-technical people now with GitHub accounts that are pushing code in different services. We have an internal system that we've built that's like a deployment target for vibe coded products. So you can have stable infrastructure that's really easy for agents to work with and get logs in and out of. But not have to throw it on Replit or throw it on something that doesn't have the same security layer that we have internally. So it's definitely impacting across the board. What I'm seeing on the marketing front is actually our marketing team is finding it faster to analyze data, to actually like go deep on impact of certain activities, to scale certain things as well, to go broader. And then it helps a lot for creative. We spend a lot of time and energy around brand, like brand design is like very, very important and sensitive to us. And for a while, the models were like very much like not good at our level of quality and polish on the visual experience for brand. Like the kind of visual slop was like, we were like, oh, we're never going to touch that. But we actually took it as a challenge. And we said to our brand team, like, hey, you all go find these tools and find ways to actually make them more impactful and productive and how to steer them. And with new models from like Midjourney, as well as the new GPT image models, the ChatGPT image models, they're pretty incredible what you can get out of them if you know how to steer it properly. It's kind of like playing a different instrument. And so we use it kind of everywhere across the company. I think for this event that we're doing next week, I think we're trying to highlight it in places that have the most leveraged impact in the business. Software engineering is obviously one big one. We also have an internal system that's this really intelligence engine around go-to-market. So not just marketing, but like our sales pipeline, lead enrichment, prospecting, searching for great customers, detecting when folks sign up and we should really spend a lot of time on them. These are things that like in the past companies would manually review. You'd have like deal review meetings, you'd have a team of people sitting in a room together, you'd have like managers talking to sales reps about all this stuff. We've just automated a ton of this. And it doesn't remove work, it actually gives us more work to do. It's kind of the crazy thing where we're accelerating on top of it. In addition to us building this product, this infrastructure product for all the AI companies, it feels a bit like what we're stumbling into is a new way of working, like actually a new way that companies will operate. And that's what we're very excited to share and kind of share the lessons from what we've just experienced so far.
So Sebastian has a question here. It's kind of related to what you're just talking about. Do you have some kind of company policy, or is it just people experimenting what they're curious about? I know a lot of companies that we talk to are, wondering like, what should you let your employees do? Should you have limits? Should you just say, use your best judgment? But how do you think about that?
Yeah, so we haven't found our limits yet. If there are limits, we haven't set them or found them yet. I think instead what we found is that it requires like a mindset shift around executing this way. And our expectation now at WorkOS is everybody codes. It's something we now have as one of our operating principles. We interview people for it when they come to the company, even entry level or super experienced. Doesn't matter if you're coming in a essentially like a director level or a new grad. Everybody codes. We look for fluency around building things. And there could be different levels of it. An infrastructure engineer that's like hands-on, optimizing systems is very different than someone who's, building prototypes or, front-end experiences. But the expectation is you're leaning into this and doing a lot with it across the organization. What we have seen, like by and large, is that people are like thrilled by this. When I had said that to the company, like I want to make this an operating principle that everybody in the company codes. I'm an engineer. I love building stuff. It's the whole thing that got me into startups and software. Is just making things is so much fun. It's like playing with Legos as a kid, but now I have like infinite Legos, and I can make my own Legos. But not everybody is like that. Not everyone grew up that way or thinks about their career in that way. And so I actually was expecting more pushback. I was like, when I was going to suggest that, like, pitchforks and torches, no, like, we can't do that. Was not the case at all. Everybody was like, yeah, actually, we're already doing that. Actually, now that we have that as a premise of the company, here's the things that we need from an infrastructure layer to accelerate it even more. And so it's been very exciting to see how fast folks have gravitated towards it. I suspect it's going to be this like sea change across all organizations. And just with this Applied AI showcase, what we're finding is there's certain categories of folks in the company that just need, I don't even say like nudging. They're already curious and interested. They just need a bit more tooling or infrastructure built for them to get over the bump.
Related to that, so Sebastian has a good question as a follow-up. Do you have some kind of mentoring internally, or are people mostly self-taught in terms of AI tools? And maybe these types of events are ways you try to encourage people to, to kind of lean into it a bit more. But I'm curious how you all think about that.
Yeah, the amazing thing about these systems, like, Claude or whatever, is you can ask it to teach you. In the past, like if you open Salesforce and you're like, I don't know how to use Salesforce, you're stuck. You got to go to a conference, got to read a book, you got to click around.
You
It's
go
like
to some weird article you find on Reddit
terrible.
or something.
You're screwed. It's like the incantations to understand the system is only reserved for like the wizards in the Citadel or something. Like you're just stuck. You can't use it. But with Claude, you can sit down. You just be like, I've never written a line of code in my life. Teach me how to program. Teach me how to build stuff. All it requires is the attitude that you want to learn, and that it's your responsibility, your high agency to learn. And so actually the number one failing I find across folks, or I shouldn't even say failing, the place where people get stuck, you got to break through, is them saying the way I learn stuff is by people teaching me. The way I learn stuff is by someone coming in as, I need a teacher, I need an educator, I need a workshop, I need someone else to give me the knowledge. And when people say agency, I think this is like the bit, actually. It's like you need to have the curiosity to go out and find that new thing and be uncomfortable and try something and learn. There's no, teacher for every single bit of knowledge in the world. Like you'll have to go figure it out on your own, especially in these areas that are changing. And so instead, what we do is look for that agency and try to bring it out of people. Say, nope, there's no coach, there's no teacher. We can pair you with people. You can build stuff together. You can learn from each other, but everyone has to commit to the learning step in it. And I think for people that are naturally curious, when that turns on in their brain, they thrive. They're like, wait, what? Now there's no barrier to me learning anything. They'll just, run through walls. And I can tell you the stuff that they build and come up with is just breathtaking to see. Every single week, I'm like, you did what with what? Whoa. And we're just seeing that become like a pattern of the business.
Some of these new people may have better ideas than some of us who are jaded for doing this our past ways, right? So they're coming in fresh with new eyes on a lot of different problems. So I think that's really cool. Do you recommend, Michael, of the teams that have been public about their internal platforms that they're building, I would say all of them have stellar engineering cultures and stellar engineers. Do you recommend everybody take on this, this task of building internal system like this? Or is it only for the people who have money and the right people?
It's a great question. I mentioned Stripe. There's the stuff that Ramp has done around Inspect. Spotify also built this thing called Honk. There's another dozen or so. I actually had a bunch of companies, friends text me saying, oh, we're building something like that at all these different companies. So I think there's more people experimenting and building this than publicly people see today. It's just most people aren't writing about it. I don't know. I don't really know how to give guidance to others. For me, for this company, we build software for other software businesses. Like we are kind of the term software factory has been around. We've been a software factory since the beginning. That's the stuff going out the door to our customers is software. We're not using software to produce something else. We're producing bits. And so being as close as we can at WorkOS to the frontier of how software engineering is working is just a critical piece for our culture and in our perspective as a business. It's probably not the case, if you're building some other type of product in market. But I do think you need to be incorporating this way of working into your internal system. So, you need to be using tools like Claude or Cursor or Codex or Devon or things like that. Open code. You need to be finding ways to think about this autonomous agentic workflow. It doesn't need to become your entire life, your entire world. Certainly, it's not how the eventually it could be like the majority of the PRs at the company shipped, but maybe it's not the majority of the sensitive code that's like should absolutely be like hand rolled and hand reviewed. But I think to not lean into this in some way is going to be a liability, and it's also just not that fun. Like this is, in my mind, this is like the golden era of builders. There's so much cool stuff to make right now, and so to some level of retention, if you want to just keep really great engineers or attract people, I think you got to be doing this too. Yeah. We've had so many people that reached out to me that want to come work at WorkOS after I, published that post and kind of shared our investments in it. And we're staffing up like a significant team to really go deep on building this across the whole company.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why. I think people want to feel like they are leading or on the leading edge of where things are going. And Michael, I know you only have a couple more minutes, so one more quick question, and then we'll let you get on your ways. So I would be remiss if I didn't bring up your TSAI demo day talk. So for those that don't know, Michael was on stage. It was a great talk.
My talk, that was not really a demo. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, that's okay. We got a little pushback, but everyone gave you a pass because it was such a dang good talk.
Yeah, it was really good.
So for those that haven't seen it, I think it might be your pinned post or it's on your X for sure. But can you give us the little summary of what the talk was? Give a little teaser for people to go out and watch the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, the title of the talk was Death of UI, and really it distills this observation I've had around the transition from different phases of computing, from like the early mainframe days where computers were the size of a room to PCs to touch devices like phones, and now cloud, browser, internet, and AI really being this dissolving of the UI. The idea that you don't go and look at the UI and then take action, but you kind of describe your action, you describe your intent, and then the UI is downstream of that. It's generative, and we see that in the form of chat today, like these chat interfaces with Claude and ChatGPT and other places. But I think it's kind of happening everywhere. There's a pretty interesting tweet, I think over the last week, with Brian Chesky talking about the Airbnb app, saying like, I don't think chat's the interface for it. He was immediately challenged by people that are like, I would love to be able to just chat with Airbnb and not have to go through this crazy UI thing. So I think this transition is occurring. I don't know what's on the other side of it exactly. It's not like a chat text to markdown representation is the best for everything. But this idea of user interfaces being, dynamic and generative and kind of at the disposal of the intent, like downstream of that, I think that's a major shift that's happening in like human computer interaction. And we're all in it building stuff, so we're not really talking about it as much. We're just trying to make agents that are effective. We're just trying to ship products at scale. We're just trying to build businesses. But right under our nose, I think this enormous shift has happened, and that's really what the talk is about.
All right, Michael. Well, we really appreciate you coming on Agents Hour. For those who want to see what Michael's saying, it's Grinich on X. So go give Michael a follow.
X, the everything app. You can DM me. I'm also curious for folks watching this, if you have questions or thoughts or things of any of the talk or anything like that, just tweet at me. I love mostly what I learn is from people like you guys and then people online. So if you have comments or interests, please reach out.
All right, Michael. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Mike.
See you guys.
See ya.
Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye.
Dude, did you subscribe?
Dude, I host the show. Did you subscribe?
Did you subscribe?
Subscribe to Agents Hour every Monday, noon Pacific.
Agents Hour here to stay. Tune in Mondays, make your day. From the news to the problem solved. AI will get involved.
That was dope, dude.
That was a good interview. Besides my technical snafu, which we will edit out. So if you watch the live stream, you get to see the uncut mistakes. If you are tuning in later, you won't even hear me talk about this, and Jan will cut that right out.
Every time I talk to Michael, I get really inspired, but I also get really sad because I feel like I'm not doing enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. But yeah, it's always fun to talk to him. Obviously, they're doing some really awesome stuff over there. I'm excited to learn more about Horizon. Obviously, I just read about it for the first time today. So that was actually really, the timing of that was awesome because maybe it was yesterday. Whenever that post came out was the first time I heard about it. And I think it's just interesting to see like teams that have really good engineers starting to like really be more public about what they're building. It's because the whole landscape is changing, right? And so the tech forward companies want to tell others. It kind of feels like back in the day, like you'd always it used to be like blog posts. Now it's
Yeah.
like X posts, right? But it's you would share like blog posts to try to like one, you want to attract really good engineers to come work for you. So you tell about all the cool things you're doing, but it's also really helpful to others that are like that want to keep up, that want to keep learning. And so I think like the new thing is building your like building your own coding agents or building your own systems around it. I
Yeah.
don't think it works for every team, but smaller teams maybe would have a harder time. They don't quite have the resources, right?
Yeah.
But if you have the resources, it kind of makes sense. You should be kind of owning your own destiny when it comes to like how your factory delivers software, so to speak.
It's really like reminds me of the era in like web development in like the 2013s to like 2020, let's say, that era where there was no right answer to anything and everyone was, and this is before people were like pushing open source projects for everything. You would go to a meetup, you would learn some different tactic that somebody was like just experimenting with, and if you resonated with it, you would go home that night and try it out for yourself and then bring it to your own company. And I feel like that's the type of vibe that we're in. You're muted again, my friend.
Saron Almighty says, my problem right now is just not having enough time in the day. I agree. That's sometimes how I feel. It's like
That's what
you
Ralph
gotta,
loops are for.
yeah, you gotta cut it off at some point. You gotta say like, I need some time away, but I agree with you. Well, let's get back into the news and we will continue. We didn't get to quite finish before Michael joined, so we're gonna pick up where we left off with the news. All right, so we left off Coinbase layoffs. So this was last week. Brian Armstrong sent a letter to all employees at Coinbase. Basically, they cut Coinbase by 14%, and two forces were converging: the market, and then also AI is changing how we work. So another, I feel like AI is the boogeyman that is
Yeah.
like it's like the get out of jail free card for founders. It's probably partially true, but I think it's also often exaggerated. But it gives people a pass a little bit on like why they're making decisions. So it does feel like it's kind of the boogeyman in the closet. Although I do believe it to some extent. I think it's a bit overblown that it's like AI is the reason. I think a lot of these companies, you tend, and this is not a knock on Brian Armstrong. It is like you see it across all companies as they get bigger and as they grow and scale. You tend to not get the hiring exactly right. You overhired in certain places, you underhired in other places, and naturally, I think you get a little more bloated than you probably are at your peak performance, right? You eat a little too much at the buffet, so to speak, and
Yeah.
you need to cut. But the unfortunate thing about this is you're cutting jobs, which isn't it's never an easy thing.
And blaming AI for it too.
Yeah.
But
And so that's of course the challenge. There's this post that came out, got quite a bit of attention, that says the layoffs will continue till we learn to use AI. And talking about this person thinks there's a 10% chance they're going to get cut on May 20th. So if you want to read a post around this, I think there are some interesting takeaways from this, mostly on but it's kind of what you think. Like people, if you learn to use AI, you're in a much better position, and I think that is true. Like AI is here to stay; it's not going away. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. So
Yeah.
your best bet is to figure out how can you become even more efficient, because you are one of the people that learn to use AI. And I do believe that the people that are against it are going to be the ones that are very likely to not make it in the case of these types of layoffs.
I don't think we had this in the news, but this was not the only layoff of last week, right? This was a Cloudflare as well.
Oh yeah, I didn't put that in there. That's a good call.
Cloudflare also got rid of people globally, shit ton of people.
That was a big cut, wasn't it? Like 15% or more,
Yeah.
maybe. It was
A lot of people, predominantly in they blamed AI. Let's just put it like that. They blamed AI again. I've been thinking about what makes you safe in these AI cuts, and I think Michael put it very well in the interview, which is you need to be a self-driven, high agency learner and builder. And I think those are the types of things that will keep you safe.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things, and this is honestly like maybe just a lesson in being like having higher agency, is that, you know, a previous job that I was at, I would naturally like sit back and like ask for help. I would naturally be the person that, you know, wanted to get on a call and have people talk about it. And then you know, started seeing other people just like they weren't any smarter than me. They just were more, they just dove into things more quickly than I did. They just like
Yeah.
wanted to go deep on it, even if they couldn't figure it out. And eventually I realized that if I did more of that, I would learn faster. So I think there's just something about being willing to dive in head first. And now the nice thing about it is you don't have to do it in public. Before I used to like raise my hand and say like, yeah, I'll figure it out. But now you can just ask Claude or, you know, ChatGPT questions. Like just like, if there's one thing you can be is just super curious. You can almost learn anything now, right? And like there's varying levels of how good it's going to teach you, but it's like a personalized teacher that can teach you anything you want. And so I would just encourage you to be curious and ask a lot of questions. So we mentioned this earlier, and this is why this is not the only reason you're in New York, but it's, you know, it'll be a good test.
It's the
So
second reason I'm here.
Elad Gill said people at major AI labs using internal models are 3 to 4 months ahead of startup Silicon Valley engineers. Silicon Valley founders and engineers are 3 to 6 months ahead of New York. New York founders are 6 to 12 months ahead of the rest of the world. Most people have no idea how fast AI is shifting, as 1 to 2 years are behind state of the art. And then a quote, "The future is here, just not equally distributed."
I wonder how much I believe this right now. I guess I'll let y'all know next week once I do some more reconnaissance. But
Well, if you watch this show, I feel like you fall into the, you know, the Silicon Valley founders. And
I think so. I mean, that's the reason why we made this show too, right?
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't get left behind just because of where you live.
Yeah, I'm in Sioux Falls,
That's
South
why.
Dakota right now, you know?
Yeah.
But I spend a decent amount of time in San Francisco. And I can tell you though, when I talk to people in tech, this is in the Midwest, right? I talk to someone who's at a larger company. They have, you know, a lot of engineers. They're not they're in financial services, so it's not a tech company, but they have tons of engineers. They were just trying to figure out how to get people ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So in that case, that company is falling behind. You just know it is the case. But there's a lot of smaller startups and founders that aren't. And I think that is where your superpower can be. If you're not at a really large company, you can, you know, move into these higher up categories. You don't have to be, you know, 1 to 2 years behind the state of the art. And if you watch the show, hopefully you're a little bit more caught up in what's all going on.
Yeah. I think another thing is to get involved online if you're not in these areas. Oh, Dev with the nice one.
Yeah. And this is exactly it, right? And it was in 2026, he said, as a follow-up. So yeah, not everyone is using these tools yet, which is why I think, you know, the growth is still ahead of us, because more and more people will start to realize it. I do know a lot of large organizations don't let you use more modern tools, but it's coming. So I think you can be on the bleeding edge, stay connected, keep up with what's going on. But if you're one of those people, you're at a large company and you're watching this show, you might, you know, you're probably frustrated because you feel like you can't keep up because there's rules that are keeping you from being able to keep up. All right, Brain Trust had a security issue. Another week, another security issue.
Another TechCrunch article.
Another
TechCrunch is back, dude. They're reporting all the news.
Yeah, it's like TechCrunch is here. Yeah, they're having a revival. You know, it's just one of those things with Brain Trust and with security in general. It's becoming more important than ever. It's hard because any tool that you have to potentially protect yourself, hackers are using to try to exploit you.
Yep.
So the tools are getting better. It means the hackers don't have to be as good and they can be more sophisticated. So yeah. I don't know what to say about these anymore because I feel bad for the companies because, you know, like whether I don't mind some of the people at Brain Trust. I like Brain Trust, you know, they're cool. And it just sucks that that attackers are just trying to coming at everybody, it seems like. So protect yourself. Do what
Hug
you can.
ops. Hashtag hug ops.
Yes. All right. This one, there's a little drama here. A lot
Yeah,
of
that should piss me off.
people on both sides. All right. Well, maybe we'll be on different sides of this one. Maybe HTML is the new Markdown. So from Tariq from Anthropic says HTML is the new Markdown. I've stopped writing Markdown files for almost everything and switched to using Claude Code to generate HTML for me. This is why. And then there's a entire article goes into detail on why HTML is way more effective than Markdown. How, he uses HTML for just every time he creates a PR, he creates an HTML file to explain the PR, uses HTML to visualize, different, rather than just having write like a research report, have it write it in HTML, just so because you have visualizations and all that, it's much more information dense. And Andre Karpathy said, this works really well, by the way. At the end of your query, ask your LLM to structure responses HTML, then view the generated file in your browser. I've also had some success asking the LLM to present its output as slideshows. More generally, in my opinion, audio is the human preferred input to AIs, but vision, images, animations, and video is the preferred output from them. So it's rather than just text in, text out, maybe it's audio in, multimodal, image, animation, video out, visual out.
I mean, we do this already, but it's not the it's the output format, right? We make these slideshows with HTML, CSS. When we want to visualize something, we ask the agent to write what we've learned in some type of visualization. But it's not an intermediate format, which the title is the title is rage bait, right? That's the reason. That's why it's a very effective title. And I actually don't disagree with him at all. I just don't like clickbait at all. Now we're getting clickbait in all these types of articles. But intermediate formats, if you're doing HTML for that, the only way that works is you got a million context window and you can spend tokens, right? Obviously, the person who wrote this can spend as many tokens as they want. So I don't agree with that as intermediate formats. But if you want to do something that is communicative to other humans or to other people, to other teams, etc., yeah, I'm all for it for sure. What do you think?
I think that there are some times where, if you want to learn something and it presents you, we talked about it, like a way to learn, right? I'm a visual learner. I can read, I read, I do a decent enough job reading these tweets on the stream. I can read, but I am a visual person. I want to see, a flow chart or a diagram, or I want some kind of visual breakup to make it easier rather than just a big wall of text that I have to read. For some things, not for all things, but some things are naturally, they lend themselves really well to being more visual. One of the things I have been thinking about, and I've been testing out some different tools, is there has to be a better way, in my opinion, because I do believe that PR reviews are the bottleneck, to visualize PRs. It's not just CodeRabbit summary is good, but GitHub's interface has never changed in years, right? It's just a top-down list of code from A to Z. That's not the most efficient way to review code. It just isn't. If you have a 50 file changed PR, why would A to Z be the best way to actually read that? That doesn't make any sense. If it's a 5 or 10 file change, you can reason about it really quickly. It doesn't take that long. But if it's more than a dozen or 2 dozen files that have changed, the best way is not A to Z. It just isn't.
No.
So I've been thinking about there's more visual ways to do it. I do like that he just, creates an HTML file. But then I saw David Kramer's post. Now all these, I don't know what the derogatory term he used to describe people that are coming up with the idea.
Clunkers? Was that what it is? Clunkers?
Maybe. Yeah, all these clunkers are coming in on Monday saying we need to commit these HTML files to the repo for each PR.
Don't do that.
I don't think you should be doing that. The PR review does not need to live in the repo with the code.
Yeah.
But I do think there is some value in figuring out a new method, and it shouldn't need to be generated from scratch each time. You shouldn't have to generate 10,000 lines of HTML code. But I do think there is credibility to visualizing visualizing the outputs of agents.
You know, CodeRabbit and Greptile, they did do these code map graphs in the PRs. They stopped doing them because they're like not every code change can be visualized that way, or maybe it doesn't work for everybody. Remember, you've seen those, right, on pull
Yeah.
requests where they show you, but how many times did those ever make sense? I've never like, oh, okay, I guess so, but that's not the way I would have visualized my change to teach my team, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's the challenge is, people again learn in different ways. Maybe everyone's going to have their own, their own custom PR explainer skill that puts it in the format that you want, and you just get it to explain it. But I also think there is value in having, I think with master code, right? If I have a skill that explains the PR and maybe it's HTML or whatever, it also has my history of how I got to those changes.
Yes.
So it has the context, especially with master code. There's no compaction. I have the list of all the things I talked through. So it knows my logic. It can explain, it should be able to explain it in a way that is similar to how I reasoned about the problem. Now, again, maybe that doesn't work for you when I send it over. You might have reasoned about it differently, but you can at least see how I got there.
Yeah.
And so I think there's something there. I don't know what it is yet. So Ramp had a post building fast and accurate agents with Prime RL. There's that reading thing again. I said I could read with Prime RL post training. A spreadsheet agent is only as good as the information it retrieves. If it reads too little, it misses the answer. If it reads too much, it becomes slow, expensive, and easier to distract with irrelevant tabs. In Ramp Sheets, we built Fast Ask to handle that retrieval loop. Given a question like, what was the revenue from March to May? Fast Ask navigates to the workbook, reads the relevant ranges, and returns a compact answer for the main agent to use. So essentially, if you read the article, and you can't really see it in this screenshot here, maybe we can zoom in a little bit. They use a Quen model, and they did some RL post-training on it, and they are actually able to get it much faster than Opus, almost as fast as Claude Haiku 4.5, but much more accurate. So they raised their accuracy significantly just by doing some post-training. Andy from Osmosis would probably love this post, right? Because it validates that a smaller model with the right RL environment and the right RL process can actually outperform a state-of-the-art model.
Yeah, maybe that's a good signal for us to bring Andy back on maybe next show.
If this didn't if this didn't just come out, I was going to try to get Andy on to come on the show and talk about it, because there's some math in this post that frankly I didn't understand.
Yeah, we need him to explain it to us. He's a professor after all.
Yeah, professor. We need to bring on Professor Andy. I mean, I get the general idea though. They talk about the reward function. They talk about the process. I think there is, RL is bound to have some kind of a moment. And I think it's, again, I wouldn't recommend, if you're a small startup, don't RL your model. You don't need it. Like, unless you're you're having a lot of, a ton of data that's flowing through it, or a ton of usage, you shouldn't be considering it.
I think RL is going to be super hyped because there's these rumors that OpenAI is getting rid of the fine-tuning API. So you can't fine-tune things anymore because they believe 5.5 is good enough, or these newer models don't need any fine-tuning from the end user. So that's actually good, because now that's one less thing that young AI engineers don't have to confuse themselves with, whether they should fine-tune a model or not.
Yeah, fine
But
tune or
the
RL.
next question they're going to ask is, should I RL the model?
Yeah, should I fine tune it? Should I RL it? And then people have to realize that there's a difference between the two. What does that mean?
Yeah, there's so much you can do before RL.
Yes, and Dev says that. There's a lot of juice to be pulled from in-context learning before you ever need RL.
Exactly.
It's like Dev is in your head. All right. So OpenAI had a bunch of things launched this week. So GPT Realtime 2 is in the API. It's their most intelligent voice model yet, bringing GPT-5 class reasoning to voice agents. Voice agents are now real-time collaborators that can listen, reason, and solve complex problems as conversations unfold.
Dope.
OpenAI Codex now works directly in Chrome on macOS and Windows. So it's even better at working with apps and sites in Chrome, and now works in parallel across tabs in the background without taking over your browser. So I think, Codex needed this. I think it definitely helps if you can actually have something that can navigate an app or navigate a website. ChatGPT is now available as an add-on in Excel and Google Sheets. So
It's about time.
they're trying to compete with, Anthropic. So Google had some changes or some launches as well. Gemini 3.1 Flash Lite is here. Gemma 4 is now up to 3 times faster. And the file search tool in the Gemini API is now multimodal. So it's powered by Gemini's embedding 2 model. So you can basically improve file search because you can use multimodality with it. Grok now has connectors on web. So if you are using Grok, they have connectors. All right.
They finally got there. You got to give it to them. They finally got there, bro.
They're getting there. They're getting there. A little behind, but they're getting there. A whole bunch from the Chinese model as well. So this post says, hold on, China's Ernie 5.1 is almost state of the art, but using only around 6% of the pre-training cost. So it's just, China's been doing really good at getting very good results on less data. Now, some people says it's, distillation attacks, and others like they're getting their data from, a better source, I guess. But it is interesting. It's always interesting if you can do something for, 6% of the cost.
Yeah.
And it's, reasonably say it's 85% or whatever of the model. So let's go through a whole bunch of quick hits. So this was a response to people complaining about GitHub. So there was 1 billion commits in 2025, and now there's 275 million per week. So on pace for 14 billion. So it went up 14x. So that's the at least current pace if the growth doesn't increase. But the chances of the growth staying the same, pretty low. It's going to keep growing. So they're going to probably 20 or 30x the number of commits on GitHub this year, if I were to guess. That's wild.
Also, uptime for GitHub in the last 90 days has gone back up to 995. So good for them. All
right. There we go. Let's go. AMP had an announcement that the best coding agent in the world is back. Okay. I don't know about the best, but
sure.
There's a coding agent back. AMP is back. AMP is rebuilt. So if you were interested in AMP, go learn about that. Vercel announced DeepSec, an open source coding security harness. So we talked about security. It's always good that there's more tools in the tool chest for people to use. If you are worried about security, maybe this will help you out. Cursor introduced /orchestrate, a skill that recursively spawns agents to tackle your most ambitious tasks with the Cursor SDK. Very similar to,
Goal.
Codex's /goal. Monster Code has /goal. So /orchestrate is just a different name for a very similar process. This thing called Mirage came out. It's a unified virtual file system for AI agents. So they basically rewrote Bash from the ground up. They basically tried to build a file system that was built more for agents. It's a cool idea. I think there's definitely others that are trying to attack the same problem. But the thought is agents can use file systems really well. So what if we made the file system better rather than just trying to give the agents tools to use APIs or something?
Yep.
And I thought this was cool. Real-time world models are the next AI frontier. This is from Reactor. So Reactor launched their real-time world model. World model is just so impressive. They're cool.
So cool.
I don't, TBD, like what all the practical uses are going to be. I think there are some there, like navigating real-world situations that are dynamic. You can train people. You can, you basically can spin up almost real-world like video games on the fly, which is nuts. So for training simulations and all that, there's going to be a ton of use cases around this. I think it's still obviously early, but it's always really impressive.
This was the Rob Ferguson from Fireworks. This was like he was asked the question, "What's your favorite AI startup right now?" And this is what he said, right? Reactor.
Yeah, that's why I put it in here because I looked at it and I was like, "Oh,
sick.
Dang! It wasn't even on my radar." But it got almost 9 million views on X.
I regret saying browser based now.
So introducing the printing press, a CLI factory and CLI library built with Trevin. So most APIs suck for agents, most MCPs suck for agents, most official CLIs suck for agents. They waste tokens and time. So this is a tool to help with that. Pete Steinberger of OpenClaw fame says Peekaboo 3.0 is live. It's the biggest release since 2.0. It's basically, you know, Mac automation that sees the screen and does the clicks for you.
Very cool.
So there's a new benchmark called Program Bench, 200 rigorous whole repo generation tasks where models design, build, and ship a working program end to end. And you can see it's very hard.
Yeah.
0%.
But you're also asking it to rebuild SQLite from scratch or from a binary or something. I mean, people can barely do that with documentation.
in years of time. Dude, you could give me like imagine if I had to do that by hand. How long would that take me? That would take me like a year.
Yeah,
right?
and it wouldn't even be good then. Still,
yeah, and it wouldn't
you know
even be good. Like I could spend a whole year if I didn't have AI tools, and I wouldn't be able to get it right. Like, could I eventually do it? Sure. Like, I'm confident I'd figure it out, but that would be like my life. Devoted my life for a whole year.
How many years they spent on the PHP compiler? Like, holy shit.
So yeah, I mean, everything's at 0%. We'll see if, you know, ever, like if you get to 10%, what is that? I think you win.
You win. Yeah, maybe OpenAI GPT-6 will be able to do it. We'll see.
Maybe. So Unity AI is now in open beta. So it says we believe AI is has the most impact when it helps creators move faster while staying in control of the creative process. Use our built-in agent tuned for Unity workflows or connect the AI tools you prefer via AI Gateway and MCP server. So maybe building games is getting even easier.
Yeah.
Introducing post-hog code. I don't know if this is real, but you know, it's the product editor that understands your product, identifies usage patterns, triages bugs and errors for you, creates PRs to fix them, continuously monitors and improves your product. So essentially post-hog, which is, you know, I would consider started as an analytics tool. Then they added feature flagging, they added data warehousing. Now they're going right century, it seems like.
Yep.
They're trying to even fix your bugs. They're going to open PRs for you. So they have their own, even post-hog has their own coding agent.
I feel like we're all building the same stuff.
Yeah, I do. It's like everyone's coming up with their own version of a very similar thing. All right. That's the news. Follow us on YouTube. Go subscribe, like, do that thing. Follow us on X at Mastra, at smthomas3 is me, at Abi Iyer is Abi. But the show's not over yet. We still got one more thing. This one's for fun. So if you want to stick around, you want to have fun with us, now it's the time to do it, because we used to do this stuff all the time, and it's just been a while since we've had the time to actually do it. We are big fans of Suno over here. You've probably heard us mention it before. It's really cool. I'm a musician, but I still love Suno because it allows me to, I mean, I can write a song, but I'm not going to write a song about all the stuff we shipped at Mastra this week, right? That'd take me forever. But Suno can write me the song, and we can share it with the team, and we get a lot of joy out of that. At least I do. I know you do.
I do.
I don't know if the team actually even likes it. No one's ever said, like, that song is sick. But you and I say, dude, that song was sick. So we have a lot of fun. We're going to have some fun because 11 Labs has music, and I have not played with it yet. I played with Suno a lot. So we want to do some comparisons to compare how does Suno and 11 Labs music stack up. We're going to build the same song. If you are watching this, and you know, give us a genre, give us what you want the song to be about.
Yeah,
we'll pick one.
Topics and genre.
We'll give everyone a few seconds. Like give us some kind of genre, some kind of topic. What should we be building a song about? And then you have Suno up. I'll do it in 11 Labs, and we will we'll see what happens.
I think I use Suno way too much, to be honest.
Me too.
I was building skills for creating Suno songs over the weekend, and with like the Monster Code browser, I don't even have to go and create the song. I just logged into Suno on my browser profile, and then I can iterate on lyrics and stuff. It just goes and creates a song via the browser, and then I just listen to it. I'm like, oh, this is trash. Tell it like, yo, we need to iterate on this.
Dude, that's cool. Yeah, I'm not okay. You beat me. I'm more like I don't like to generate the music or the lyrics in Suno, or I wouldn't, if I were doing it, I wouldn't want to do it in 11 Labs. Like I want to curate that and like get that right first, and then I want to put it in. So that's how I use Suno. Is I curate it. Like I use either Claude or ChatGPT to come up with the draft, and then it's never right. Like they have some weird rhymes and stuff that I wouldn't do. So then I'll like curate it a bit and like tweak it, and then I'll let it rip.
So we have a topic, which is goblins attacking Claudie or Claude.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to use that as a. I'll use.
All right, you gonna share your screen first?
I'll share my screen first.
So, because you might be watching this and you've never seen Suno. So, what is Suno? You can get it to create music. If you listen to our intro or the outro that you'll hear, those are Sunos. We probably should redo those. It's been a while. I think
It's a lot better now.
It's better now.
So this is Suno. You can make music different ways. So you can do simple, which is you just do a description and style description, and it'll generate the song. It usually generates 2 choices. You can listen to both and see which one you like better.
And Medigames asked, did you, and we just answered it, but in case you missed it, did you do the Agents Hour song with Suno? Yes, we did.
Of course we did.
So
you can also get...
Again, I could write a song. I could play it. It's not going to be as good because I would have to rush it. It would take me like hours to record something even remotely as good. And it would only be like I can play one style. Like I'm good at one thing. Suno, you can get it to be good at almost anything. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah,
I've now generated over like 300 songs. Some I don't even, they're not good. But if you want to follow me on Suno, I do have some bangers in there. But also you can go advanced here. So if you are a songwriter, you can write your lyrics ahead of time, and then you can do the styles and mix them up. That's what I was doing over the weekend with these songs here. I've been doing a bunch of iterations with my coding agent to make different iterations of it. And I made like this like 2000 electro house song. It's super sick. I can, you can always follow me and listen to it. But okay, so let's do simple.
Yeah, we'll just do the simple. We'll do the same. Should we just do the same prompt?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll type.
What's the style prompt? So what style are we doing? Yodeling? Because that's whack.
Yeah, we can't do yodeling. I don't, only because Jan, I love you, but I don't know how to judge yodeling.
Yeah. So what kind of like normal, what kind of normal song style do we want? Put it in the chat.
Yeah, we need a normal style. Something we can. So we can do the same style and we'll compare.
Yeah. See who writes the better or who has the better sound. Do we have anything in the chat yet?
Nothing yet. We need someone. Come on.
Come on, yo. 1930s cabaret. Oh, I've never heard that, but we could try. Does anyone else know what 1930s cabaret is?
This is like something Grayson would do.
Yeah. Let's try it. Screw it. All right, so I'll do Goblins Attacking Claude, 1930s cabaret. So you just hit create. It'll create 2 variants of this. Do you want to show the ElevenLabs thing while we wait?
Yep, I'll take over. So here is ElevenLabs. I'm in music. Goblins Attacking Claude. Again, I'm not, you can add different art style. You can add how many. So there's a little bit, some options here. So you can get a bit more detailed. It's actually trying to autocomplete. Let's just leave it at that and see what happens. So this will kick off 2 generations over here. And of course, this does take a little bit of time, right? It takes time to generate. But it is kind of crazy to me because it can generate a 5-minute song in less than 5 minutes. It doesn't even take as long as the song is to generate.
It's already done. Wow.
Well, it's still generating, but it has the lyrics. So the lyrics come first. It's going to be pretty short. That's okay. I need to make sure that hopefully when I share, the audio comes through. Yeah, okay. I am sharing audio. All right, let's hear this first variation, and then yours should be done. So this is ElevenLabs style. And then if you are watching in the audience, let us know which one. Was it 11 or Suno? Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Here in the dark where the shadows play, a story unfolds at the end of the day. It's about a man, handsome they say. Poor Dick Lahad, he's special today. He walked in the alley, a shortcut you see. A glint in the darkness, a nasty decree. A tap, tap, tap of their crooked wee feet. And something quite sour replacing the sweet. Oh, the goblins are coming for Claude. With their pointed long noses, a hideous squad. They snatch at his wallet, they tug on his coat. It's a cabaret chaos, that's all that she wrote.
All right, so there's a minute of
That
it.
song
Let's
is
see-
whack, dude.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's hard for me to judge that style. Like I can't. We're gonna have to do one more. All right, you do.
Yeah, we'll do one more. Okay, let me make sure I can share.
Yeah, should
How
be
do
a
I make
bu-
sure I share with audio?
There's a on
Oh,
the
yeah,
bottom
right here.
right of the share. There's a
Sick.
little checkbox.
All right, I'll just pick this one. Let me know if you hear it.
Indeed,
Ours
I
already.
can.
This one already went.
Claude lit the candles low, velvet draped the door, and then the goblins hit the floor with tin teeth and dirty paws. They came in from the alley side, from the cracked back gate. One had a grin like broken glass, and one wore Claude's old tie. Tap shoes paused, the room leaned in, a green hand reached for the gin. Claude said, now, too calm, too neat.
Dude,
Then
Suno wins. Come on.
Suno wins.
stamped its
I mean, Suno just makes everything so catchy. Like I think that's trained into the model.
Sorry, I'll pause it.
Like it doesn't matter what style. Like Suno finds a way to just make it catchy.
Yeah.
Which is like it's a repeatable pattern, right? Like if you know an AI song, you can start to pick it out because it tries to make everything pretty dang catchy, no matter what the style is. At least that's how I've seen Suno, which is great because, yeah, and maybe the audio is not coming through as well for all you folks. So that's
Take our word
unfortunate.
for it.
Yeah,
Should we do another one?
let's do one more.
Last one.
Should we do start from scratch?
Yeah.
All right, we'll do one more and then we'll call this thing.
All right. So we need another topic. Sebastian, why don't you give us a topic if you're still here?
Yeah, I want to pick the genre. Let's
we'll pick the
let's you
genre.
and I pick the genre. Let's something that we would have, because I want an accurate 11 Labs judge, like an accurate song, something that we would want to do for like our end of the week recap that we use Suno for.
Like 90s rock, maybe?
Yeah, like 90s rock. We just did that. So 90s rock, that's kind of a style. Everyone's heard it. I feel like we can accurately judge. All right, but we do need a
We
topic.
need a topic. Come on, y'all. You had
So
a
I'm
lot
gonna-
of good questions for Michael, but you can't give us a freaking topic? At least, come on.
Come on, let's go. All right, 90s rock song about, and then we need what is the fill in the blank? Or let's pick a news article.
Yeah, let's pick a news article.
Let's see, what do
Which
we
one?
what do we have? We had the insurance for your agent. We had
Ooh, dude, let's do Corgi insurance. Just because that's in the zeitgeist.
all right.
So,
About- So 90s rock song about corgi insurance.
actually, let's take the title of that thing. So let me look at the notes real quick. Let's take the tweets. Let's take the body of the tweet.
Which one?
Yeah, let me look at this. The
Today we're excited to launch
Yeah.
AI coverage. Okay.
yeah, I'm gonna take that whole tweet and then I'll do 90s rock on it.
All right. So you want to do the whole like thread?
No, I'll show you what I did. Share this. So I took, the whole like Nico's tweet. Today we're excited to blah 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 blah. Insurance was built for risks that have existed, and we're creating a new
Okay.
category very quickly. And I just put 90s rock at the end.
Okay. So it's the whole tweet and then it says 90s rock. That's it.
Yep.
All right. Generate that. I'll do it on my end. We'll compare.
Cool. We should post this and tag Nico in it after.
And just say this is why you need to come on Agents Hour. This is the
Yeah.
kind of stuff we do here. I don't know if that's a good a good way to get someone to come on the show, but maybe send them random Suno and 11 Labs songs about their service. All right, 11 Labs is ready.
All right,
You want me
mine's still working. Go
All
ahead.
right, so
I
11
guess it
Labs
takes
is
longer on this side. Yeah.
11 Labs is fast. It's called Shadow in This Town. Let's hear the first version. It says 90s alternative rock track with distorted guitars, driving drum beat, and angsty vocals, evoking a raw and energetic sound. All right.
Static on the screen again, another hollow face.
Suno's gonna win, dude.
Dream that I can't ever seem to chase.
We'll go to like the
Another
first
perfect
chorus.
smile, another empty plastic phrase.
Let's hit the chorus and then.
Trapped inside this perfect cage, counting down the days. And all the colors start to bleed.
This is like a heavier song.
The colors start to bleed into gray.
Sounds really like airy.
In the sound, it's the rage inside me screaming out. I'm breaking down the walls you built around. Yeah, I'm just another shadow in this town.
That was whack. That's whack.
All right.
All
I
right,
mean,
y'all. Let's close it out with the good one, probably.
Yeah, I'm
Probably
gonna put my
Suno.
money. I think Suno's gonna win. It wasn't bad. It was like, again, maybe if you I don't mind like 90s alternative rock, but I'm guessing Suno's gonna do something that just like is much
Catchy.
catchier.
Yeah.
It's gonna be catchy. And
Yeah.
yeah. It's much more radio friendly. Although it is like distorting the sound, I think. I'm hearing I think you're like it's distorting it a bit for some reason on your audio
I
side.
can't even hear you. What'd you say?
I'm saying I think it's distorting the sound on
Oh, in
coming
the
through.
share.
Yeah, and you're sharing the audio?
Yeah.
Really?
Let me double check.
Yeah, make sure you're
Think
sharing
so.
the audio because this time it seemed like it was like compressing the stuff really quite a bit.
Okay, let's try this again.
For risk that
Much better. Much.
same old
No.
trouble from the same old past. But something
Try
new,
muting yourself.
you're too fast.
Same shit.
Little robot hands making big mistakes at last. And now it's moving way too quick. New kind of crash. New kind of fix. AI coverage, backup plan. AI coverage when it hits the fan. AI coverage, we got your side. AI coverage, ride or die.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Suno wins.
Suno wins. It was very compressed on our side, so I couldn't, but I could just tell it wins. It actually seems relevant to the tweet we sent, the lyrics. The 11 Labs one didn't talk about insurance at all.
Yeah.
Like,
It
how do
just
you not talk
converted
about
into the
insurance?
shadow of the day
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, what do you mean shadows in this town? We were talking about insurance, dude. You're this thing way too heavy. All right, we're having fun. That's the show. So thank you for everyone who tuned in. We did the news. It was a long news. There was a lot of drama, a lot of things covered. We're here every week. We had Michael from WorkOS. We did the 11 Labs versus Suno battle. Right now, Suno wins. 11 Labs, you better step up your game. Suno's still way ahead. And that's the show. Make sure to follow us on YouTube, Mostrat-AI. Follow us on X. Any parting words, Abby?
Have fun and good luck.
Good luck. Have fun. That's the show. See you next time.
Peace.
Yeah. Yo, that show's a wrap. We were live in the zone. AI agents out with Shane and Abby on the throne. Did you give us that review? Only if it's a 5. Jump on the tube, make sure to like and subscribe. Yeah, news so fresh, yeah, we keep you in the loop. Guests so fly, they bring the whole troop. AI on the rise, don't miss this power. Welcome to the show, it's AI Agents Hour. Did you just drop in? Is this your first time? Make sure to follow us on X and go like and subscribe. Yeah, learn the principles and patterns in our books. The master.ai site, give it a look. Yeah, news so fresh, yeah, we keep you in the loop. Guests so fly, they bring the whole troop. AI on the rise, don't miss this power. Welcome to the show, it's AI Agents Hour. This is the end, we all wrapped up. Another showdown, another one coming up. AI Agents Hour, yeah. Yo, that show's a wrap. We were live in the zone. AI Agents out with Shane and Abby on the throne. Did you give us that review? Only if it's a 5. Jump on the tube, make sure to like and subscribe. Yeah, news so fresh, yeah, we keep you in the loop. Guests so fly, they bring the whole troop. AI on the rise, don't miss this power. Welcome to the show, it's AI Agents Hour. Did you just drop in? Is this your first time? Make sure to follow us on X and go like and subscribe. Yeah, learn the principles and patterns in our books. The master.ai site, give it a look. Yeah, news so fresh, yeah, we keep you in the loop. Guests so fly, they bring the whole troop. AI on the rise, don't miss this power. Welcome to the show, it's AI Agents Hour. This is the end, we all wrapped up. Another showdown, another one coming up. AI Agents Hour's done, but the news doesn't cease. Shane and Abby, we out of here. Peace.